I'm Clint Culberson with lordsofconsciousness.com, and I am here in Sedona, Arizona at the 2017, let's see if I can get it right, Autumnal Equinox Celebration put on by Tolek and all his friends. And I'm here with a really awesome guest who gave a presentation yesterday. It's author David Still. David, how are you, brother?
Great, Clint. Yeah, it's really cool to be here. I'm really stoked to be here in Sedona. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's been an awesome weekend, and you're someone who's had, you're someone who's had such an incredible story of awakening, and you've come from such an interesting world. We're all born into some interesting world, and you got born into Australia as this great surfer. Who goes on to become this great investment banker, lawyer, working for Goldman Sachs, and then something happened. And, a couple of years later, now you're the author of these amazing books called It's Our Earth Too. And hopefully you can see that on the camera. And I wanted to find out, I'd like you to give me a brief description of what these books entail. And then I'd love to get into, how you got here.
Yeah, okay, sure. The books basically, I call it faction because it's basically a fiction story, but it involves real themes like fracking and water fluoridation and consciousness. And the reason I was moved to write this is I saw that basically we don't teach our kids anything useful. And even if we teach them something tiny and useful, we don't put it in a context. They don't understand energy. They don't understand their own power, and they don't understand the things that matter. And consequently, what I saw, there's a very high youth suicide rate in Australia. Where I live, on the Gold Coast, it's one of the most beautiful places on earth, and yet kids are taking their own lives. And thinking about that, I realised that they're disconnected from nature and they've lost hope. And that made me very upset. I was lucky that I wasn't working. I had the time to do this project, and I just thought I'm going to give them the information they need.
Yeah.
So
how has it? How have you drawn from your own life's experiences in writing this? Because it seems like in some ways. I haven't read the books yet, which I'm excited to, and actually excited for my daughter to also. But, how have they been a reflection of your own journey?
That's a good question, Clint. I guess each of the characters is a part of me, in a way. Some of them are quite mischievous at school. I was pretty mischievous when I was at school. The thing that's really cool is everything I've needed to learn has just showed up. So there's a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that is what has happened to me. People have turned up and they've taught me sacred geometry and, physics and a lot of really cool stuff, and just made me see that we live in a holographic universe and all life truly is connected. So what the modern scientists who are at the cutting edge are saying, not the mainstream scientists, but the ones at the cutting edge, they're saying exactly what the Indigenous people have been saying, that we are all one and that all life is connected, and we need to honour nature. And so, as I say, it's all been given to me. They're not my solutions. Really, what I've done is just put them together in a format that's accessible by young people. And the funny thing is, old people like it as well. So it's really cool.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Yeah, I'm actually more excited to read them than even my daughter. So I'm really excited to get into them. And, you talked about Indigenous wisdom. How has, can you explain kind of your journey in finding that? You come from the beautiful land of Australia, and some of the potentially the oldest peoples of the world live there, are from there, the Aboriginals. How has even tapping into their wisdom, put you on your path?
Well, for example, I have seen that the Aboriginal people, they have very great knowledge. Their wisdom is highly advanced, and what they say about the dream time for example. It sort of matches modern physics and the vacuum and so forth. And but really, it's not just Australia. In Australia, it's all over the world. One of my deepest connections was with an Alaskan elder, and this man. I went to him and I told him I was writing a book to bring the ancient wisdom to the modern youth, and he looked at me, and then he told me his name, and the meaning of his name was the bringer of the ancient wisdom to the modern youth. Yeah. So it was a coincidence, and people have started calling me Mr. Synchronicity now because the things that I need just seem to appear. Yeah. And this man Ilarion is his name, and he even has TED Talks. So, for example, he's a character in my book, and then they through the QR codes and links, the young ones can read about his own upbringing, which is very different to the way we bring our kids up.
Yeah, and for you to get to this point where people are calling you Mr. Synchronicity, right? You came from another world altogether in many ways. And can you kind of describe how that transition started happening? You were seemingly a man who had it all, in terms of physical wealth and abundance, and those are great things, not to even say that those are bad things, but just but a world that prioritized that above all else. Can you kind of describe then how the Mirage started falling away for you?
Yeah, well, 9/11 was a big thing for me. I spent a lot of time in and around the World Trade Center, and after that happened, we were in the process, my wife Kelly and I, of moving our 4 young children overseas. And, at the time, it sort of freaked us out and we decided not to do that. And so I told Goldman Sachs, I've changed my mind, I'm staying in Australia. Not the best career move, unfortunately. And so it sort of soured my relationships a little bit. And eventually, that really changed the whole world in that terms of that. So eventually I ended up giving up work and just deciding to raise my children. I'd listened to a lot of elders, and the elders always sort of say the happiest time of their life is when their kids were young. So I decided to be hands-on. So I became very involved. I coached the soccer and coached the surfing and, walked my kids to school each morning and all that sort of stuff. And it was really idyllic and blissful. We even we took our kids around Australia in a caravan, which was awesome. No television. They knew all the birds. We were really in touch with nature. But then as the kids got older, I just saw, not so much my kids, but their peer group, as I say, the suicides, the disconnection, the unhappiness, the drugs, all that sort of stuff. And I guess I just saw that, we don't give them rites of passage. We don't give them what they need to understand who they are and their uniqueness, why they are here on Earth, and why they have chosen to be here now. Our kids think everything's random, they don't understand that there is a profound order in our universe. And I guess I just, for some reason, particularly around 2012, because I did a lot of research on that, and I saw that it was an amazing opportunity for humanity to evolve, and yet it was being portrayed, number one, as the end of the earth, and number two, as just being set up as something meaningless when the world didn't end on December 21, 2012. So that made me angry. I guess I've gone through a lot of different stages of emotions around the book. I said, right, I'm going to put all this wisdom in a story, and then over the 5-year journey, I guess my thinking has changed a little bit, but I'm just hoping that young ones will read it and feel empowered. And I have had some amazing feedback from people. Some people have come up to me and started crying, not because the book sucks, but because it touched their heart. And the third book, not many people have read the third book in the trilogy. That's next level. It goes 20 years into the future. And it took me a long, long time. But the feedback that I have now from some amazing people, including one of my daughters. One of my daughters was a big inspiration in this. She's an empath, and she kind of said, "Dad, you've got to write your book series." And she read the ending and she just said it's gold. and I was, very thrilled about that, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm just waiting on the cover art to be done, and the third one will be released and ready for Christmas, I hope.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I'm really excited for this to get all of them out, as a full collection, because, like many great trilogies, it's almost as if they become one book. And so I'm sure, it's just, the other two probably are incomplete without the third. And I haven't even read them all the way, but oftentimes that's how trilogies seem to work. Would you say that is the case with yours?
Oh, absolutely. The first book, for example, I've been guided the way I've written the story, and the ending of the first book, I guess, is a cliffhanger. And the ending of the second book is a little bit the same, but the third book is a lot more challenging because you've got the characters' heroes' journeys. Each of the main characters have to sort of achieve some sort of a culmination, some sort of recognition of what is their lesson, what have they achieved in their life, and then you've also just got the themes of how do I think or the Earth's going to evolve, and how is humanity, what is the opportunity we have to evolve, and how do things like artificial intelligence, for example, impact on that, and the control matrix that we live in, what's going to happen to that, and so forth. So in some ways it's a lot of fun, and in some ways it's obviously a very, very serious topic as well. But yeah, I'm really thrilled with how it's come out. So
that's beautiful. So we should be expecting it sometime in December, before December, correct?
Yeah, hopefully. The text is ready now. I'm really honoured. There's someone I really look up to who's quite well known, who's writing the foreword for the third book. And he, he said to me, "There's no way you did this on your own." Yeah. Now, at Goldman Sachs, that would have been a huge criticism. Yeah. Of course, some sort of breach of copyright. But I guess in the spiritual sense, that's a compliment. So I'm waiting for the foreword, and I'm waiting for the cover art. So yeah, ready for a big push. Now, I really want to build a community around this. There's 120 research links. So it's actually an education curriculum. It's almost like for homeschoolers and so forth. It's an alternative curriculum. It's not just learning about specific things. What it really is about, Clint, is teaching the young ones to understand energy and to understand the way natural systems work, and then they can work things out for themselves. They're a lot smarter than I am. They've all got gifts. Every person on this planet is a genius at something. And the real thing is to go within and see, what gives them joy. In the future, I call the school system the school of joy, because you learn about who you are and what gives you joy. And that's your gift to humanity and the world. So yeah, December, hopefully.
Beautiful. We'll end with this. What would you tell someone who's kind of living in that world of security, but knows that the path that they're going down is, not for them, not sustainable in the long term, at least for their mental, physical health. But they're right there on that cliff's edge, like, do I jump or do I not? I mean, I know what I don't want, but I don't know exactly what I want. But I just know it's time for me to jump out of the nest, in a sense. What would you tell that person who's ready to jump? Like you did in your life, and now look what's happened with this book series. I mean, you're out doing some awesome stuff, and I'm sure there's moments you have doubts, but it's like like you said, spirit is like flowing behind you. You have winds blowing you. What I would tell them, really, there's really only two things. There's fear and there's love. And even Einstein, for example, we use his information to make atom bombs, but we don't really focus on the fact that he wrote a letter to his daughter saying the most powerful force in the universe is love. And people need to think, are they being guided by love or fear? Fear is false expectations appearing real. And really, it's motivating most people in our world. Unfortunately, the mainstream world is a world of financial slavery. And yeah, I think, would you rather have a bank account with $1 million in it, or a bank account that is always
always gives you what you need, no matter. And I'd rather have the latter, because everywhere I go, it materializes, and it's a lot more fun to follow your dreams. But obviously, you need to balance that with your your responsibilities, and that's what I have to do with my own family, for example. But yeah, I would say they're here on Earth to be creators, to create what they want, the life they want, and not to live in slavery. So, really think about that, and take your time to listen to yourself, and, create the life that gives you joy.
Yeah, well said. And you heard it here, right here, from my man, David Still. David, thank you so much for joining me.
Awesome, man.
Check this book out. Let's see if we can get it on the camera so people can see it. Hopefully it pops up. If not, I'll put the image up. But we're having an incredible weekend. There's just so many amazing presentations that have been given, but yours really stood out to me. It really hit home for me, because in some ways I've shared a similar path. I mean, leaving that nest of security to fly into the great unknown, but just knowing that that's where I was meant to go. And it pays off. I mean, heck, I'm sitting here with you, my man. So thank you. Hit subscribe on our YouTube page. Check us out on Facebook, lordsofconsciousness.com. Peace.
Awesome.